Hey everyone, Kane here, and in this video we're gonna talk about our heroes in general. So I wouldn't really need to make a video on each and every single hero, and in general I would just more or less combine majority of them into one video. The thing about this, majority of like the aura buffers just have a specific ability or skill that they're good at, and majority, like 99% of the people won't screw up leveling them. So I wouldn't really need to make like additional 10 videos in regards to this. So we have multiple different types of buffers. So basic aura buffers tend to be Avalon, Elana. Virion is not exactly an aura buffer, but he has Crusader Shield, which kind of works for humanoid units, which contains like, or rather is played by 4 races. So he has some sort of a pretty decent importance. Gan is an aura buffer. Gazul, you have, well, Roses, but not very played. You have Jax, one of the more important ones for specific races. You have Yip, which is also sort of like an aura, well, not an aura buffer, but something like Virion, a pretty huge buff as well. You have Talk, you have Sprig, you have Mako, which I forgot to mention. And I think that's somewhat it for the main buffers. Now, the thing about keeping them alive. So, first of all, it depends what kind of a race you're playing, and that kind of puts some of the heroes up above on the list to actually keep alive. So, if you told me that you're playing, let's say, dwarf race, right? So the main heroes for you are, of course, one moment. The main heroes are Jax, Gavgar, and then you go for something like Avalon and then Virion. And then perhaps Grims to some extent if you're playing Zen, Deadeyes, which are like reducing in ammo rather quickly. But if you're playing Dire Deadeyes, you don't even need Grims. That's pretty much how it is. So you basically, majority of the time, require 1, 2, 3, 4, because Alana is a must-have. And of course, if you value your Deadeye surviving and killing stuff, because they do happen to kill stuff, Virion is also one of the better buffers just to add an extra damage, I suppose, reduction on morale boosted Deadeyes. And there's quite a few times where I tried to do damage to boosted Deadeyes where they were getting like a boost after a boost after a boost, and pretty much something like this actually made them tank a decent amount of damage that in the end they either killed the Rufio or they just didn't take any damage, they didn't run away and stuff like that. So those heroes tend to take priority, and then you have some slide buffers like Gan, which would improve their dragon. Then you have, let's see, Yip, which would debuff the enemy. I don't think this affects Deadeyes, but if somebody thinks otherwise, you can put it in the comments down below to, I suppose, either approve or disapprove some of my comments as well. And I suppose that's pretty much it. They don't really have that much stuff to keep alive. So going by the, I suppose, stats. So Jax is a mechanist. He has higher range than generals and sages and whatever. So he tends to be in a decently safe position regardless of what equipment you may have. So since Jax is a mechanist and whatever, if you would want to keep him a little bit safer from damage, you can easily just put something like one moment, like Eye of Miracles. The thing about this is you're not really putting this in terms of improving his range or whatever. This attack range thing, improves survivability of majority of the heroes because they are a lot further away from the front line. And since he's again like in the tree of mechanists and rogues, they have more range, and with additional 20% or even, I don't know, additional artifact, if you would, he would reach a pretty safe position to the point nobody would touch him, or they would need to waste a lot of resources to actually get to him. So you won't really need to invest any invincibilities towards this particular buffer. Then you have Gavgar, which is a gladiator, and he has for 20 seconds, and 20 seconds is enough to make a like battle in general sort out itself for one side actually winning. Like my battles are like you win after 5 to 15 seconds, you already know the winner. It's like 5% chance if the battle lasts longer than that, like literally. Or you get unlucky and something else happens, but generally the battles take less than 20 seconds. And then you just clear the stall side. So yeah, this doesn't require any invincibilities. So then you have left two heroes, Avalon and Elana, which you would put the invincibilities on. Basically, you would have Elana with Solantris and you have Avalon with like Sky Totem. That means your Elana will not get removed and you won't lose this pretty huge magic resistance buff, and your Avalon wouldn't die to lose the Ardent Aura effect, which makes your Deadeyes have more health. So basically, Aura buffing goes like that. Also, Varian is a tank by himself. He has Light Safeguard, so regardless, he doesn't need invincibilities as well. So then you have literally like two generals and sages, and you have like more than two invincibility artifacts. So everything is sorted out and you have a proper, I suppose, buffers on the field. However, for a few other races like Lich, it works a bit different. So likely you notice that my Elana has no invincibilities. So I place my Elana on my burst side. The thing is, if I face burst versus burst, usually this hero either gets focused in the middle of my mages, and doesn't matter if this hero dies, I would win regardless or lose regardless, because most people plays burst versus burst or try to, and if one burst side wins, the other of course loses. So regardless if this hero tends to be alive, you're gonna lose anyway without any DPS heroes on your field. So the thing is, the reason why I have this is mainly to just buff the hero itself with a shield, to buff, debuff, or rather buff the carries around it and stuff like that. If I do happen to face the stall side of the enemy, people usually send Rufios to my mages and even touch Elana. Elana doesn't die. I have like a lot of debuffs in that side of my field, so Rufios don't tend to really do that much. Sometimes I even tag a Rufio so Saizo and Tissafen instantly turn if one of them doesn't. So again, very rarely Elana dies in this particular Lich formation that I have. Like very, very rarely. So do keep that in mind, that it comes from a perspective like that. She can die when I face burst versus burst because we literally explode everything, but if she would die in that kind of sense, it wouldn't really matter, because if you lose burst, you lose the, I suppose you lose the match because you don't have any heroes. So yeah, that is pretty much it. So for the next example, we can take Rakan Race. Now Rakan Race is incredibly difficult to actually make good. Why? Because you have like 8 heroes to keep track of. So you have Avalon for HP Aura, you have Elana for magic resistance, Varian for the Crusader Shield, you have Gan for boosting your dragon and the turtle. And if you boost the turtle with Gan, you also have health increase on the turtle, and turtle's regeneration would increase with that as well. Now, I'm not using Gan because I don't have a spot on my formation for this particular hero, unless I remove one of the stronger debuffers or whatever. But majority of my general and sage heroes tend to get obliterated because I don't have archers. So regardless if I face this, it's not going to help my dragon, because all of the aura effects such as the nature's blessing get removed as the hero dies, as far as I'm aware. So like if I place this, the hero dies, I lose this, and this hero would die in like 5 to 10 seconds, because again, I don't have spare invincibilities which I can put on this hero. So basically, he's just a stat buffer in terms of magic, stamina, and command at the moment. Though do keep in mind that many other races should or need to use this, or if you have a spot, you should use this. But in my own formation, I don't really have the spot unless I want to remove a 6th squad of my skeleton warriors. And just a slight increase on my dragon's HP is not going to make my field tankier or survive longer than a skeleton warrior squad. Now, likely there was a match where I could have won maybe 2 matches out of like 50, that like 5% additional HP would have actually made me win, because the dragon wouldn't die as fast. But as like a couple of matches compared to so many times where a skeleton warrior squad stalled so friggin' much that my mages just obliterated the rest of their field. So it comes down to like formations in general. I'm not denying that this hero is pretty good. So we have 4 at the moment. We have 5, but yeah, we have 5. I'm gonna explain Mako in just a sec. 6, 7 in a sense, 8. Yeah, so we have 8. The reason why I use Denji as one of the things is about his Spring Ale. So the thing about this is the healing from this actually tends to be pretty friggin' decent, or was decent when my Blade Masters had like almost like 2 million HP, I think, or whatever the number was, like 2000 and then an M letter. This happened to heal a pretty decent amount, but it will depend on the builds, it will depend on stuff. I would be using Denji as well if I had additional 2 pieces of a gladiator set. So whenever I do manage to get another 2 piece of gladiator set, I'm instantly adding Denji to my formation, regardless of what race it is. So let's count. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 general and sage heroes. And the reason why I put them in this sort of, I suppose, count is that general and sage heroes tend to walk forward in front of the archers in range of everything. And you need to have invincibilities on them. And that is where it becomes a pretty big doozy, because then you have to value each and single one of these, I suppose, general and sage heroes and what they do tend to provide. So I place Elana as the top of the buffers for Rakan, whereas she isn't incredibly important for me as a Lich race right now. So the reason why she's important as Rakan is because if this hero dies while you're playing Rakan, your field gets deleted by mages. And I do mean deleted, like there is no counter ability in playing Rakan if this hero dies. You literally lose. So in such a case, I would place a Solantris, one moment, where is the thing? So I would place Solantris on her. If she's focused, become invincible for 10 seconds, or she would survive like at least 20, 25, 30 seconds. and after that it doesn't matter. Majority of the fight is sorted in the first 30 seconds or less, like even less than 20. So you do require this hero to survive at least that long. And he does, or rather she doesn't tend to survive with any other than invincibility artifacts. Then you have Avalon. So Avalon is one of those heroes which buffs health. So if you're playing a human race, if you're playing any other race which requires the humanoid HP, you want to have something like a Sky Totem at the very least. And Sky Totem at 3-star applies a 3 seconds invincibility. So he's fine if he's not touched, but if he's touched, he gets 3-second invincibility. So I would place majority of the prioritization on these two heroes. Varian as a third hero, he is a tank, he has his own survivability, so it doesn't really matter. So that's already 3 heroes covered. Then you have Gan. Gan in general is one of the, I suppose, main buffers on the field, at least in terms of tankiness on the field. So the dragon buff, for me personally, doesn't seem very huge. Even if he would buff, you mainly use this hero for like the turtle, and the dragon is like on the sides kind of stuff. So using this for the dragon increases the one moment. I don't have a turtle, but regardless, basically increases the health of the magical creatures, and turtle is magical, by I think like 50-65%, something like that. And then the turtle will activate regeneration on your Rakan archers, on your Rakan blade masters. So this hero tends to take a pretty huge priority. So thing about this hero is you ran out of invincibility artifacts. So what do? The thing is, the thing that you can try to do is either place this hero in places where he likely wouldn't be really focused, which would be a corner, but then it depends which corner, it depends if it's on middle. Some people tend to kill these heroes because they walk to the front line even. So essentially the only way to keep them alive is invincibility, or something like an increase to their attack range. Now the thing about this is it increases the range from when they can auto attack or basic attack. Excuse me. And then it kind of removes a lot of the area of effect abilities which would be touching the hero. God damn it, I'm losing my voice already. So after that, they're not really gonna be focused, they won't really be one-shotted or die instantly, and you don't really need to waste a lot of, I suppose, artifacts in such a case. Now, the thing about it is it's not really guaranteed to keep the hero alive. And there are a few other invincibility artifacts like Tisophin's Cloak, like Raxius's Hourglass, but that just comes down to if you're not using those particular heroes. But I mean, who wouldn't use those heroes? Then of course you have Mako. So same thing with Eye of Neracles, but this is a pretty different thing. So Mako has an inbuilt range increase. So if you pair that with the Eye of Neracles, and since Nora got a new artifact, you have Sunflare literally free, which is another 25% range increase, right? So if you add 25% here, 20% here, and you're gonna have like 9 in bonus range, you literally have a hero farthest in the backline as any other hero can be, maybe even a lot further, in the safest position ever. And basically you don't even need to worry about this hero being ever focused or stuff like that. Like that is the thing. Usually it comes down to making this hero survive, and that is one of the things that will make this particular buffer survive for so much. So in the end, you will be buffing the crossbow aura, you will be leveling the eagle eye, and you don't really need a very high level on the Mako as well. Now, a doozy comes with the Sage, I suppose, yeah. You ran out of stuff to use as invincibility and whatever. However, this hero acts as like a buffer slash debuffer and whatever. So I'm not entirely sure if adding range on this would actually be very good, but like likely this hero is not going to survive with range as well. From what I kind of noticed, that regardless if you level this hero or not, he doesn't happen to survive for a very long time. Like, even if a random dragon area of effect lands on this, he literally can lose an entire HP bar. He literally can lose entire HP bar from a Rufio spin. So it's very hard to keep this particular hero in my own, like, in the way I notice my PvP going. I always place it the farthest in the backline, but then he walks too much forward and he just gets deleted regardless. So I'm not really sure that range 20% would actually even assist this hero to do anything. And I suppose Denji is a gladiator. He's tanky regardless with a proper build, so it wouldn't really matter. And then you have Talk. Now, the thing about Talk is he has more HP, and usually people don't tend to focus Talk. Or, from what I noticed, a lot of people didn't really tend to focus Talk. So, essentially, I have him built decently, but even then, Talk really depends on what kind of stuff you're running and what you're doing. So, essentially, if you're playing Rakan, you have this sort of a skill set, and then you have Prophetic Trance. The only huge difference is if Talk is killed is in the heavyweight and in the Tortoise Mastery. So basically, most people proc the turtle in the very beginning to make sure that the army is losing the least HP possible. It's not falling, it's not collapsing, the archers are surviving. And essentially, if this hero dies 15 to 10 seconds into the match, it doesn't matter. He already did majority of what he could or was needed to do. Now, a lot of people will say this is very important. It's increasing physical resistance. So this is only good against stuff like humans, dwarf deadeyes, let's say other Rakans or whatever. So if you lose this, it's not really a pretty huge thing. Now, the thing is, yes, of course, they're rogues, yes, of course, there's mechanists, but they don't really do that much damage as mages, so this doesn't pose incredible, threat as the other heroes on, like, the list of, I suppose, my own requirement from what I've noticed. Sure, it's better to keep this hero alive, but you don't always have enough resources to do so. So in the end, it comes down to formation building. And essentially, I would say going from like the list of prioritization with invincibilities, the best invincibility takes, or rather is taken by Alana, then the other one by Avalon, and then you have a choice between Gan and or Talk. If I suppose you're not using Raxius for the hourglass, right? But again, like this, if you're using Rax and you're casting him the first from the Rax frontline build sort of thing, this is a requirement. And you know, if you don't use him, if you use something else, you can actually use this on either Talk or I suppose Gan. I would highly suggest to use it on Talk because he has a lot more stuff that will be more useful to you than just HP increase on massive units. And after that, you have, let's say, first two heroes which are not going to die. You have Mako in a very safe range, so that's 3. You would have Talk in a safer range that he won't really die, so that's 4, I think. Man, I've already lost count, god damn it. So 2, 3, 4. And the fifth hero, the Yip, is going to die. Denji's gladiator is not going to die, so that's 6. Then you have Gan and Varian. So Varian, he's a tank, he's not going to die. Gan, you can add or try to add range or whatever, but likely is going to die anyway. So you have about 6 heroes, which you, out of 8, you kind of made pretty decent, and they're going to survive and still buff the Rakan field. However, the other 2, you ran out of resources to actually make them survive. So the survivability of the other 2, or increase of their survivability, will depend on the formation. So basically this video is tips and tricks on that sort of sense. Anyways, hopefully you found the video useful, and if you did, do hit that subscribe button. It would help me out a lot. Thanks for watching, take care, and stay safe out there.